On July 31, 1999, 17-year-old high school seniors and best friends, J.B. Beasley and Tracie Hawlett, began their journey from their hometown of Dothan, Alabama. They were headed towards a birthday party for J.B. in Headland, Alabama, but the girls ended up getting lost along the way. In a phone call to her mother from Ozark around 11:30 p.m., Tracie informed her mom that they were heading back home. However, neither girl would ever make it home. Their lifeless bodies would be found the next day in the trunk of their car, raising the long-debated question of what might have happened to them. Did it have something to do with the party? Or did the girls run into trouble on the road, heading back from Ozark? J.B. Hilton Green Beasley was born on July 31, 1981, to parents Cheryl and Hilton Lanier Beasley in Troy, Alabama. After her parents separated, she moved to Dothan with her mother in 1984. She was adored by her mother, as well as her stepfather, Joey Bugoon, whom her mother married after a few years. She grew up in a nice home in Dothan, along with her 4 sisters. J.B. grew up to be a very outgoing girl who was involved in various activities, including cheerleading, dance, piano, swimming, etc. She even modeled for several agencies, along with her sisters. Besides all of her hobbies, she loved hanging out with her friends and family. It was high school where J.B. met her fellow cheerleader, Tracie Hawlett, and the two did not take long to become best friends. Tracie Jen Hawlett was born on March 3, 1982, to parents Carol and Robert Hawlett. Unfortunately, her father, who worked in the Dothan Police Department, died when Tracie was only 5 years old. Her mother later remarried a man named Mike Roberts, who helped raise Tracie along with her mother. As both girls were blossoming into their adulthood, J.B. or Tracie were oblivious to their dreadful fate, which would strip them of all their future hopes and dreams. On July 31, 1999, at around 10:05 p.m., J.B. and Tracie left Dothan in J.B.'s black 1993 Mazda 929 to attend a birthday party organized in J.B.'s honor in Headland, just a few miles north. However, the young girls, being unfamiliar with the roads leading to their destination, soon found themselves in trouble. Within a few minutes of starting their journey from their hometown, they got lost. Around 10:30 p.m., J.B. and Tracie stopped at a BP gas station. Using a payphone at that gas station, they called their friends to get better directions to the party. After the call, the girls kept driving to reach their destination, but instead ended up in Ozark, Alabama, about 24 miles northwest of Headland. Realizing that they still did not understand the directions to the party, at 11:30 p.m., the girls stopped at the Big/Little store, although the store was already closed by then. Tracie called her mother from the store's payphone. She informed her of how they got lost and ended up in Ozark, and that they were now planning to come back home. At the same time, a woman named Marilyn Merritt and her daughter stopped at the gas station to buy a soda. The girls then asked her for directions back to Dothan. Marilyn tried to explain the way as well as she could, and the young girls seemed to understand. Marilyn would later say that she noticed that the girls looked nice and polite, with a clean and tidy car. Marilyn remembered seeing the girls pulling out of the parking lot and turning right, just as Marilyn had directed. Although nothing seemed amiss at the time, J.B. Beasley and Tracie Hawlett never made it home. The following morning, August 1st, 1999, Tracie's mother called the police to report her daughter missing. It did not take police long to find their first clue regarding the girls' whereabouts. Later that day, after Tracie was reported missing, cops successfully located J.B.'s car, which had been parked on Herring Avenue in Ozark. The most bizarre thing was, despite having filled the gas tank the day before, the tank was almost empty. The car was muddy, the driver's side window was partially down, yet the doors were locked. However, Police could not find any signs of a forced entry into the vehicle. Inside the car, GB's driver's license was laying on the dash. The purses of both girls were still inside the car, along with their cash. The only known missing item was JB's car keys. A palm print was recovered from the trunk lid of the locked trunk, which gave police a foreboding feeling that something was horribly wrong. Assessing the scene, cops theorize that the locked trunk could provide them with significant clues, but without the keys, they could not open the trunk. It took them 6 long hours to discover that they could open the trunk of the car with the help of an interior latch, without needing the trunk key or a locksmith. Upon opening the trunk, police made a grisly discovery. The lifeless bodies of the 2 girls were stuffed inside. Both girls were fully clothed, but their pants were soiled from the waist down. Both girls had been shot, once in the head, Tracie in the temple, and JB in the right cheek. Tracie had a 9mm shell casing on her leg, scratches on her arm, and her jeans had thorn briars on them. JB's clothes, on the other hand, were muddy and dirty, especially her newly purchased shoes. As the families were informed about the heart-wrenching discovery, authorities formally started their homicide investigation. Although investigators were considering robbery as a possible motive, during the initial phase of the investigation, it was quickly ruled out after confirming that not only the girls' purses, but also their jewelry, money, and credit cards remained inside the car. Autopsies later confirmed that there were no traces of alcohol or drugs in their system. The report also suggested that neither girl had been sexually assaulted prior to their demise. This basically ruled out the possibility of the crime being sexually motivated. However, more than 2 months later, the State Crime Lab issued a report indicating there were traces of unknown semen on JB's bra, panties, and skin. The palm print recovered from the lid of the trunk also remained unidentified, with no matches in the system, and no one to compare their evidence against. Authorities were left without much to go on. A reward was also put out in an attempt to gather information regarding the murder, but it did not uncover any new leads. However, authorities, it seemed, soon got an unexpected breakthrough. On September 1st, exactly 1 month after the bodies of JB and Tracie were found, a longtime Ozark resident, 28-year-old Johnny William Barentine, walked into the Ozark Police Department to tell a bizarre story. He claimed that he had been a witness to the high-profile double homicide of the Dothan teenagers. Barentine told police that on the night of the murders, around the same time, Tracie Hawlett called her mother from the payphone at Big/Little store. He went out to buy milk for his 2-year-old son. He claimed that while he was out, he had witnessed a horrendous act. He returned home at 1 a.m., visibly upset, and told his wife that he'd been hit by a black truck near Herring Avenue. Disturbingly, in the 4 hours of interview with Ozark police, Barentine changed his story 6 times. According to then Ozark Police Chief Tony R. Spivey, Barentine initially said that on the night of the killings, he had seen a black truck speeding away from the area where the girls were found. But as the interview continued, his story kept evolving and changing. Finally, he claimed that he picked up a tattooed man he didn't know, and the two drove by the Big/Little store. He further claimed that the man to whom he'd given a ride got into a car with 2 girls, whom Barentine identified as the deceased Dothan teenagers. He said they ended up on Herring Avenue, where the man forced the girls out of the car. A struggle occurred between the man and the girls as they were trying to get away. After placing them in the trunk, Barentine said he saw something in that man's hand moments before hearing 2 gunshots, and when the man returned, Barentine again gave him a ride from the scene and then went home. In another version, Barentine confessed to investigators that he knew the man he'd picked up and given a ride and identified him to be his neighbor. Alarmingly, Barentine himself lived less than a mile from where police discovered the bodies. Police did not buy his story, naming him the prime suspect in the murder of J.B. Beasley and Tracie Hawlett. Ozark police arrested Johnny Barentine on the spot, charging him with 2 counts of capital murder. But there were several problems with his accounts. Barentine never mentioned sexual activity that would account for the semen found on JB's clothing and body. Besides, the neighbor he implicated had an alibi for the evening. Several people noted that he looked startled and like he had just awoken from a deep sleep in his mugshot. Just after arrest, Barentine immediately admitted that he had fabricated the whole story in order to collect the reward money. However, police at the time believed they arrested the right person. In the preliminary hearing on September 21, Alabama Bureau of Investigation agent Charles Huggins testified that Barentine was able to describe the girl's clothing and other items consistent with the crime, suggesting he was there at the scene. From the time of his arrest, Barentine was held without bond in the Dale County Jail in Ozark. In an October 18 bond hearing, Barentine denied he was involved in the killings, confessing to the judge that he never picked up a tattooed man and didn't see anything the night of the murders. He said that he simply went to the BP at about 11 p.m. to get milk for his little boy, and later fabricated the whole story to claim the reward money. However, he was denied the bond and sent back to jail. Even during this turbulent time, Barentine's family members never stopped supporting him. They even gave interviews to the media, professing his innocence, saying he was incapable of hurting anyone. Barentine's lawyer, Bill Kimmons, also maintained that his client was not responsible for the double murders in any way, shape, or form. He further stated that the 4 hours of continued interrogation took a toll on Barentine, who had wrapped himself in this mess with a lie. During police questioning, he was never told that he could go to the bathroom or was free to leave whenever he wanted. Barentine's defense also pointed out the fact that Barentine only finished the 7th grade and a portion of the 8th grade. He said his client was in special education classes, indicating his inability to plan this heinous crime. Barentine was finally released from jail on December 17, 1999, after it was revealed that Barentine's DNA did not match that from the semen found on JB's body and clothing. In January 2000, a Dale County grand jury declined to indict Barentine and cleared him as a suspect in this double murder. After Johnny Barentine was cleared of suspicion, the investigation endured a setback. The methods employed by investigators were also criticized. There began to be mutterings that the Ozark police were incapable of handling the case. However, police still had some potential suspects on their radar. One of the most viable suspects was a man from Michigan who was at a party the night of the murders near where JB's car was later found. Investigators discovered that the man, who was not publicly named, left town within days of the murders. Investigators had even traveled to Michigan 3 times to interview him. He could not account for 3 or 4 hours of his time on the night of the murders, and later made some suspicious statements to people. However, the police declined to elaborate on these alleged statements. As it turned out, he was also later ruled out by DNA. One other significant lead police were chasing during the initial phase of the investigation was the driver of a small white pickup truck. A video surveillance camera inside the Big/Little store caught a grainy, poor-quality image of what appeared to be a small white pickup truck at the gas pumps. At the same time, JB and Tracie were at the payphone, calling Tracie's mother. No digital trail could be traced, though, as there was no record of a gas purchase at the pump at that time. The video neither showed anyone getting out of the truck, nor did it show the driver clearly. After releasing a photo of the truck to the media, a month into the investigation, police urged the public to come forward with information. Unfortunately, both the driver and the truck vanished into thin air as the lead faded away. The last lead for the investigators was a man from Mississippi. Police said the man, who was extradited from Jones County, had been arrested there on an outstanding warrant for possession of drug paraphernalia issued in Ozark. The man had been staying with relatives in Ozark, but left 2 days after the murders. According to Spivey, investigators wanted to question him in connection with the case. However, no significant information came out in light of this lead. Without any evidence, investigators were forced to let him go. In March 2000, a woman called police and said she heard screams and 2 gunshots near Highway 123 South, just inside the city limits, on the night of July 31, 1999. When asked why she did not come forward earlier, she claimed she was scared to get involved. Based on her description, police thoroughly searched the area and discovered a 9mm bullet, the same type used to kill the girls, but the brand name of the bullet did not match the brand of bullet shell casing found on Tracie's body. Furthermore, the unspent bullet had no markings that would help with forensic comparison to other evidence in the case. Again, another dead end for investigators. Although several leads over the years proved to lead nowhere, investigators never lost hope in the search for a DNA match. As the heartbroken families of JB and Tracie tried to get on with their life, the case turned cold. Then, years later, another twist in the case added another layer to the thrilling mystery. After remaining cold for years, 2015 would mark a bombshell allegation in the murder case of J.B. Beasley and Tracie Hawlett. Rena Crum, a sworn Ozark auxiliary police officer, came forward and openly accused an Ozark police officer of murdering J.B. Beasley and Tracie Hawlett, and others covering it up. Rena alleged that on the night of July 31, 1999, a police officer for Ozark Police pulled over J.B. Beasley, demanded to know the whereabouts of some cassette tapes that contained recorded conversations. According to Rena, these tapes could have incriminated Ozark police officials regarding the illegal business of cocaine distribution and profits. The incident escalated into the murders of 2 innocent teens, she further alleged. Rena claimed that she had been threatened by multiple law enforcement officials who had knowledge of the murderer's identity and covered it up by getting rid of evidence. Rena named 3 cops, Gary Butch Whittington, Rex Tipton, and Eddie Henderson, accusing them of harassing and threatening her. She went as far as to say that then Police Chief Tony Spivey, who handled the original investigation, had also helped cover it up. However, she shied away from revealing the name of the police officer who, she claimed, had actually committed the murders. The law enforcement officials Rena accused had all denied having any involvement in the murders of J.B. Beasley and Tracie Hawlett. In May 2016, Rena Crum received a suspended sentence and a $250,000 fine after being convicted for harassing J.B. Beasley's sister. Over the years, authorities investigated many theories. They interviewed hundreds of people and took DNA samples from several suspects, but to no avail. It would take 20 years and the innovation of new DNA technologies before police could apprehend a suspect. In March 2019, investigators sent the DNA found on JB's body and clothes to the Virginia-based Parabon Nanolab, which specializes in DNA phenotyping and genetics, using public genealogy databases. After analyzing the DNA, the lab finally made a connection to a suspect, Coley McCraney. 45-year-old Coley Lewis McCraney was never on the radar of investigators in the brutal 1999 murders of J.B. Beasley and Tracie Hawlett until DNA implicated him in the crime. McCraney, who is an Alabama native, graduated from Carroll High School in Ozark in 1992, where he was an athlete, as well as the president of the Library Club. After that, he joined the U.S. Air Force and served there from 1993 to 1997. McCraney remarried in 2001 and had children with his second wife. Other than failing to pay child support in 1998, McCraney had no criminal record in the past 20 years or so. He had been working as a trucker all of his life and had worked for several trucking companies in Alabama over the years. In recent years, he co-founded a church and worked as a bishop there. At the time of the killings, he was around 26 and living on Lisenby Drive in Ozark, about 1 mile away from where the bodies of J.B. Beasley and Tracie Hawlett were found in 1999. 2 decades after the slain high school seniors, J.B. Beasley and Tracie Hawlett were found. Coley McCraney was arrested after a traffic stop in Daleville, Alabama, on March 19, 2019. In the interview with police after he was taken into custody, McCraney said that he did not know the girls. Investigators did not clarify any motive for the murder. The news of his arrest was a great shock to the Ozark community, and the Ozark police chief, Marlins Walker, who went to school with McCraney. As it seemed that the many twisted strands in this baffling case were finally all being tied together, there was to be one more revelation. The now 53-year-old Rena Crum, who previously accused the Ozark Police Department of covering up the murder, recanted her allegations as she testified during a hearing for McCraney in August 2022. McCraney, now 49, is facing 5 counts of capital murder charges for the shooting deaths of J.B. Beasley and Tracie Hawlett. He now sits behind bars in Dale County Jail as of the time of his arrest. His bond has been denied, pending his trial on April 17, 2023. The news of finally apprehending the killer was a relief to the families of both girls. However, reliving all the haunting memories through the trial and hearings is another painful journey still to come. We can only hope that the families can heal through a sense of peace, that their daughters are finally getting justice, more than 2 decades later. Do you think McCraney is responsible for the murders? Let us know what your thoughts are in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more unheard stories like this.